This is Macho the cock, which was a real life event, and I've seen this one sitting on a motorbike in a Lanzarote beach, looking at himself in the mirror, and here is the sketch. And from that sketch, the whole thing developed. And of course, cockcrows are really not very bright creatures, and he was just looking from one to the other, thinking, what a handsome fellow. And when I came home, I started this sculpture, and it developed in a rather abstract way. But there is the motorbike with the headlamp, with the two mirrors, which are real mirrors. The head of the cockerel became a constructivist symbol. So this can be actually pivoted in either direction, and he can look at himself and look at the other things, and there is a headlamp and the tail lamp of the motorbike. So from a fairly realistic, anecdotal situation, this fairly abstract idea developed. This was Titania with donkey's head and hand. So that is a more abstract idea. It came from this indistinct shape, which many of those I picked up in Perspex scrap place and worked from there. But it is, you know, one of those feminist themes and ideas. This I call Ego the goat, because this is a goat's head, and this is a wine press, a very primitive wine press that they use in Lanzarote, which is a carved wood corkscrew type shape. They are connected. They were actually in the same courtyard, and I flattened both of them. And but the flat pieces were connected in 3 dimensions. So that gives an interesting twist to it, because everything being 2D, but in a 3D situation, and then the light, which is obviously not as strong now as it would be if the gallery was dark, but these all rely on their shadows, all these shapes. So the shadows bring it out. And the whole thing is that with the sculpture, if you walk around it, it gives a more complete image, and the situation changes with the position of the spectator. Yes. Partly because of the material in the Perspex itself. It is swelling and enlarging the lines, and the different positions would make the sculpture move and have totally different moods. I myself is sometimes surprised that, you know, odd angle of light, sunshine coming in or something like that, and it presents the sculpture in such a light that I have never seen before. So that is exciting. So I did this construction for my exhibition in Bradford Museum, which was a continuation of the Indian paintings, Rang Colors of India. And I did this installation specially for them. It looks here in a much more cramped fashion than it was there. And I have several other smaller pieces, as well as the pieces out there, which belong to it. So people could walk around it and have a look. And this is what Mel Gooding thought was like Malevich constructions. And this was like the scaffolding, the bamboo scaffolding that they use in India on skyscrapers, very, very tall buildings. And there they are the bamboo is just tied together with rope like that, and it goes up, you know, hundreds of meters high. And the women who carry the building materials and things, tools up on their heads, on these narrow sort of gangways in the sky, they often fall. And they carry these things, very heavy things sometimes, in these beautiful saris. And this is why I managed to get some of the sari material in Brick Lane and envelope these spheres and large balls with that, and also the green and the other Indian materials. And this was in memory of these women. And it was a great hit at Bradford with the Indian and community. But it was quite an interesting project and one-off project. I'm not going to continue with bamboo, but you know, these ideas come along, and I think one has to play with it and explore them. And this sculpture, I call it Woman in Waves. And it started with a rather sentimental little drawing of the guy carrying the woman into the sea. And I started working on both of them together, and then somehow the man got deleted and the woman stayed. And I decided that the drawing of her, you know, the legs, the head, the body, again will be engraved on a flat surface, and they are slotted together in 3D. Those are the legs, as you can see, with the feet. And this is the head.
And the middle piece is the body.
The body with the breasts. And upstairs we have a print of it as well, which came out very, very different. As I say, I don't copy or use things as a sort of still life. I have to redo it every time. So you can see the various prints we were talking about. For example, the Woman in Waves, which we just mentioned. And there she is, recreated in photolitho and various surface prints. But probably the most important thing was the Wise and Foolish Virgins, which was the first thing which I did very early, of engraving into a set square and combining it with a piece of thin brass packing material, which I turned over and flattened, so the two of them are together with engraving and photogravure. So that was very, very early, and nobody has heard of anything like that in those days before. So you can see the little bit of photogravure, line engraving, aquatint, so everything is combined and opened up.